Hello, in this C programming tutorial, I am gonna demonstrate local versus global variables. So to demonstrate it, I'm going to create another function. It'll be a simple function. It'll be a print function, and I'll call it hello, print hello, and in here we'll just put printf. And we'll say hello world. Okay, simple stuff. If let's say I create a variable in here, and let's say if I call it, it's a type of int, I call it num1, very simple, assign a value of 10, and let's say I also want to print this out in here, so I put %i, and then I put num1. If I was to run that should run, we should get the value 10. Pretty simple stuff, plus also hello world as well. Do not run. So let's run it again. We're not calling the method. So let's call the method. So print hello. There we go, hello world -10. So this is a local variable. What that means is if in here I was to say printf and do %i, comma num1 and run that, we would get an error. And we're getting the error on line 13, which is this line here. And it's because it's trying to access a variable which, according to the terminal, does not exist. It doesn't exist because this has been declared, this aspect of it, it has been declared within what's important is these curly braces. That means that as soon as it hits this end curly brace, it's done. It's no longer in memory, no longer accessible. You can get around that with, making it static, but even then it's accessible. You would need to, redeclare it if you want to use it. And I've covered static variables, so feel free to check that out. And you don't want always to be using them. If let's say you want, let's say a variable called num2 that's accessible everywhere, you could put it outside. So int num2, and let's assign a value of 9 to this. And that, if I was to put here, that would work fine. As you can see, the color syntax has changed and it's just printed out 9 there. So I'm putting on a new line. But if I was to try and access it within here, that too is printed out, 9 twice. It printed out 9 twice, so 9. That too works fine. So global variables accessible everywhere below it in all functions, and more specifically in all sort of control blocks, all these curly braces. Because you could have within, a function, another set of curly braces. You might have that for a loop, like a for loop, for example. And within there, you might declare a variable. That might be useful for the loop, but you might not want it outside the loop, so it gets, wiped out of memory. Whereas this, let's say, you only need it for this hello, print hello method. Very simple, it doesn't really do much. But let's say you need some sort of calculation. You need it in here. Outside of that, you don't want it. And then it just gets wiped once it hits the end curly brace. So that's local versus global variables. You might be thinking, let's just always use global because you can always access it. This is the general sort of my rule, is try and restrict the amount of access to the lowest amount possible. So if it only needs to be accessed within here, then just declare it in here. If it needs to be accessed everywhere, then obviously global, but then you can get, do other stuff like abstracting it into like a header file, putting it into some sort of struct. So, well, it's not really object-oriented programming, but it's still like you can, abstract it out in its own sort of structure in a struct. And I'll be covering all that stuff. So that's my general rule. Reduce the sort of scope as much as possible, and only use global if you really have to. But global is good for testing though. So you'll hear a lot of time, oh, don't use global. For testing, it's pretty cool because you can really, instead of having to pass variables around, either by reference or value or however, and doing convoluted stuff just to get something working, global is pretty cool for just testing. So that's it. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and as usual, I look forward to seeing you in the next C programming video. Bye bye.